I want to talk about this book, which I have been reading, and I was turned on to this book when I was listening to Crow 777 radio. And Bibhu Dev Misra is a fantastic researcher, and I've been aware of the Yuga cycles for decades. But I've never really done much in-depth research in regards to when they finish, how they finish, and the cycles themselves, how they actually, what they entail. Of course, the Golden Age is pretty simple to comprehend, as much as the Kali Yuga cycle is easy to comprehend. And we're living in the end of the ascending Kali Yuga cycle in 2024. So Bibhu Dev Misra calculated and that the work of Sri Yukteswar, who was the guru of Yogananda, who calculated the Yuga cycle, the Vedic sciences, the Yuga cycle. When he calculated it, he believed that the Yuga cycle finished sometime in the 18th century. Sorry, not the Yuga cycle, the Kali Yuga cycle finished in the 18th century. But Bibhu Dev Misra calculated the Kali Yuga cycle, the ascending Kali Yuga cycle, which is we are moving out of, finishes in 2025, this March the 21st, which coincides with the equinox, the March equinox in 2025. And when I'm reading this book, it's amazing what I'm seeing in the world playing out around me in reality. There's a purification happening. And a lot of people might not be able to see it, but I'm experiencing it firsthand in my own life. And I'm also doing my best to hold people accountable who work within the public system, the legal system, which is an inversion of God's law. If you look at the Peel Dictionary, the 5th edition, the Peel Dictionary of the Arts and Sciences of the Encyclopedia Britannica, Arts and Sciences, 1893, the definition of the word legal is the inversion of God's law. So I'm in my prayers, I'm bringing into my life and through my prayers that the Creator looks into my heart and sees that I am doing everything I possibly can to honor, to be honorable, to act with virtue, as Bibhu Dev Misra talks about the age of, as you move into this transition age out of the ascending Kali Yuga cycle and move into an age of transition into the Dwapara cycle, the ascending Dvapara cycle, which is in the Greek ages, the Bronze Age, an age of more virtue. I am doing my best in my actions daily to be more virtuous in my behaviour and my actions and my thoughts towards all creation, with immense gratitude and love and respect. But of being also in that place as well, I feel as though for me, as I am experiencing this purification process, I'm seeing around me people within the legal system who are acting with the least virtue, with hubris, with arrogance and impunity towards people that they are supposed to be serving. And I'm holding them accountable in my own way through the legal system, which I've been studying since 2020. And I'm literally faced every other day with dealing with people within that legal system who are acting with impunity and who are sworn to uphold statute legislation, and they're not doing it, and they're acting with criminality towards people, and I'm holding them accountable because that's what I've chosen to do. I feel like there's a force moving through me that's greater than I can ever imagine that wants me to do this. I can feel it, and I'm doing it because it feels like it's the right thing for me to do, but also that resonates and ruminates through the rest of my existence. So I'm acting virtuously as much as I possibly can from my heart in every way I can, and honoring that, feeling that energy that's moving through me. So I'm seeing the purification process as we enter into the age of transition out of the Kali Yuga, the ascending Kali Yuga cycle. And this is the beginning, I can see, this is the beginning of the transition. Everything that's hidden, as David Icke once famously said, has to come to light, has to be brought out into the open and purified, has to be transcended, has to be transformed, alchemized. And we are seeing the worst of the worst. And it's become more public. Maybe 15, 20 years ago, even more than that, 100 years ago, it was all hidden. It was all hidden from sight. Most of the stuff was hidden from sight. But now you can't hide it anymore. It's out in front of us to see it. And what Bibhu Dev Misra says, according to the Vedic sciences, is that all the civilization that we have today, everything we have today in regards to civilization, will be gone by 2040. Will no longer exist. All the technology, the entire civilization we have will be gone. And his predictions are quite simple, that due to the nature of the former Yuga cycles, and of course the texts like the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, we can see that at the end of every Yuga cycle, there's a war, a global conflict, and then a great cataclysmic upheaval, and then the end of the civilization. And depending if the Yuga cycle is heading down or up, if it's heading down, the light of the sun becomes more dim, and our interactions with the interdimensional beings become less likely to happen, as those beings that resonate in those higher frequencies can no longer be perceived through our senses, because our avatars begin to lose their ability to connect to those higher frequencies due to the nature of our genealogy breaking down and our DNA breaking down, our codings, our structure of our strands, the activations that we would normally have in the higher levels of existence. And in my perception, the body becomes more dense as it drops down into the Yuga cycles. But as we go into this age of transition, as he says in the book, that by 2040, the survivors of the cataclysmic event, which would be in his perception once again, and he's right along there with Graham Hancock with this one, the Toroidian and the Perseid meteor streams, comet streams, asteroid fields, as we enter into the larger areas of these streams of meteorites and bolides and asteroids and comets in 2032 and 2036, there's a good chance we're going to get smacked by one of these large objects, and it's going to take out our entire civilization as we know it. And it's going to be, as it's been said from various traditions, I think it's the Hopi tradition, that this world will end in fire. The fourth world will end in fire. What does that looks like? Whether it's an asteroid impact or a comet impact that incinerates the entire civilization. And how do I feel about that? I feel completely at peace with that. I'm not afraid to actually leave my body behind, my avatar, because there's no death. There's no death. There's only life. And you'll never be more alive than when you're dead, when you left your avatar anyway. So I feel as though my heart to act more virtuous in this time is all I can do. This is all I can do, can control in my life existence moving forward from this day forward, which is the 1st of September 2024, is to act more virtuous in my life, to have more virtuosity in my words, deeds and actions, move from my heart, and allow and pray for the creative force to move through my heart in the time I have left in my avatar, to be more virtuous and to guide me, to protect me, and to give me the strength to let me be the force that my Creator wants me to be, and through my virtuous actions, words and deeds, as much as I possibly can, without any fear of retribution or death from any force, because I know that in my heart, the creative force that moves through me, that activates and animates this avatar, is eternal. It's an eternal being. It's an eternal consciousness. It's a drop of consciousness. So in my life, I have totally seen in the last it's become more and more obvious to me through my own awareness of what world events. I'm not sure what's going on in my own country of birth, actually, where I'm living right now in New Zealand. I'm in Waikanae on the Kapiti Coast. I'm making this video right now. I've got no idea what's happening in my own country. Politically, no idea. I know more about world events than I do about what's going on in my own country where I'm living right now. I'm just not interested in the levels of corruption that exist in this place. This realm, it's not a country, it's a realm, is corrupt to its core. Absolutely corrupt to its core. The hubris and the impunity that people exude within the public legal system is beyond reproach. It's a banana republic at best. If there were any justice, in this country to be served within the public, every single one working in the civil service at the higher echelons of civil service would be in jail, including all the parliamentarians. All of them would be in jail. All of them. For everyone within the executive branches of government, which is a corporation, would be in jail because they're all corrupt to their core. And they work not for the people, but for themselves and for the businesses that they are, the corporations that they are. The New Zealand government isn't a government. In 1986, thanks to Geoffrey Palmer, who was the president, who was the prime minister at the time, we went from being a constitution to a company. What was called the Queen and Right of New Zealand. Now it's called the Sovereign Right of New Zealand. Sorry, it was the Queen, Her Majesty and Right of New Zealand. Now it's called the Sovereign and Right of New Zealand. It's a company trading on the Securities and Exchange Commission. It's not a government or a parliament. It's a corporation. And within that corporation, there's other corporations. They're all corporations. The police are a corporation. It's ridiculous. They're all businesses. They're no longer working for the public, but people don't know this. At some point, maybe they will discover that they've been had. A corporation is illegally and unlawfully taxing them. Taxation is illegal. How can a corporation tax people? You tell me. Is it legal, lawful? Anyway, I digress. But this is the nature of the world we live in today. And it's utterly and completely bananas. It's utterly and completely bananas. And I, for one, wonder between now and the equinox in March 2025, just how crazy it's going to get. Whereas I think and I feel as though the powers that be, the forces that have been able to control global events, global perception, and manage global perception are done. They're done. There's a famous analogy that I remember Dr. David Martin talking about, how the 300 movie where one of the Spartans was facing a rhino running towards him, and he throws his spear and nails the rhino right between the eyes, and the spear goes through into its brain, but the rhino keeps moving towards the Spartan, who doesn't move, and watches the rhino stop and drop dead and skid right down in front of his feet. Now, I think the system that we have today, the whole powers that be, the parasite class are done. They can't exist in a more virtuous world. They can't exist in a more virtuous Dwapara cycle. And the transition age, they can't exist. They won't be able to conduct themselves the way they have been doing during the Kali Yuga cycle and the extending Kali Yuga cycle. They won't be able to do it. But it does not mean they are going to go, the ship isn't going to sink without them throwing all their toys out of the cot, so to speak. I think in the next few months, we could potentially see a whole lot of mischief play itself out on a global scale that could take down the ship and a lot of people on that ship with it who would acquiesce to it. That's their choice. This is consciousness's choice to ride the wave and experience it. This is what the Creator wants to experience. It wants to experience this sinking of the ship, and it wants to experience going down with that ship. And I feel in my heart as though billions of people will go down with that ship at some point in the next few months. Potentially, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but potentially it could happen. And when this video gets released, probably in January, February 2025, we would have seen if I'm correct or not. I'm not saying I'm a psychic in regards to what's going to happen, but my feeling is When the ship goes down, as Bibhu Dev Misra says in the book, Kali and Yuga Shift, that is always at the end of every Yuga cycle, there is a war, a global conflict. Catastrophic geographical, not the right word, catastrophic geological disasters. And we're already seeing in this year, in 2024, enormous earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, mega floods all through the regions of the world that David Dubain has said in regards to cycles will green up again. In the Saharan Africa, the Middle East, Mesopotamia, all greening up again because of the amount of water falling out of the sky there. The jet streams have moved because at some point, maybe after 2040, those areas are going to be land areas where we can grow food again, and this is where the civilization will probably rise up again in the Sahel, in the Sahara, in North Africa, and probably the Middle East. The survivors will probably move back there again, just like Sumer, 8,000 years ago, and begin their civilization out of that part of the world, because potentially everywhere else could be unlivable. I don't know, but if it's a cycle and cycles and cycles, then it's probably inevitable that there will be a moment where, hey, you know what, at that time when it all kind of quietens down in 2040, and we actually enter into the age, we go into the age of transition into the Dwapara cycle, which could be, apparently according to his calculations, Bibhu Dev Misra's calculations, 1200 years as we move into the Dvapara cycle. The people that inherit this new light coming from the sun, which is a conscious living entity that would bring in this frequency, the new light, these beings would have changed on a very deep level, and their DNA and their cellular level would have taken all these light codes and these codings that have activated them to become able to transition into this transition phase of existence within the cycle and the world that they were living in. And who's to say, why wouldn't they be living in a place like the Sahel in Africa or in the Middle East if it was all green and they could grow food there and have agriculture there, and civilization began all over again, just like Sumer. And in the Sahel, where it probably, in the Sahara too, where, you know, we haven't done much archaeological work in the Sahara, but we do know that there are definitely ruins in there. There are many ruins in the Sahel region that show that there was amazing civilization there. Some recent discoveries that I've seen on Bright Insight about the nature of, and David Dubain's work as well, about the nature of a concentric circled megastructure in I think there's Mauritania, in the desert in Mauritania, which show that potentially there could have been a Atlantis kind of type like civilization or city that existed in that part of Africa, in northwestern Africa, in the desert, probably millennia ago, and it was destroyed and only recently rediscovered. Well, that could be, we could be re-civilizing and reliving in that particular part of the world again in 15 years. Who knows? I don't. But once again, it comes back to this notion and this idea around acting with virtue. And this is what I'm doing my best to do in 2024, September the 1st. Thanks for watching. I truly appreciate it. Mā te o wa. I'll see you again soon.